hello, DirtFish friends. What a start to the 2021 WRC season we have had in Monte Carlo, David. It really did, I think, exceed expectations.
Well, in fairness, it exceeded expectations, us just getting there, didn't it? Oh, well, in fairness, we didn't actually make it. But I would have to say that I think I almost preferred 4 days in here with... No, not really. Sorry, Colin.
I didn't know where he was going with that.
Before we go any further, what we have to do is we have to pay absolute tribute and everything to what the Automobile Club de Monaco achieved. You know, a month ago, you'd have really put quite long odds about Rally Monte Carlo Rally actually running. So to get the thing there, to get all of the British teams there, it was a real achievement from them. You know, they had to really work with the itinerary, didn't they? That French national curfew came in. They couldn't be out after 6 o'clock at night. And they did everything. So a tremendous effort.
Yeah, really. I mean, you know, right up until the last minute, there was some doubt as to whether or not we would have the first round of this year's championship at the Monte Carlo. But David, we did make it to the Monte Carlo Rally, and you know, it gave us a typical Monte Carlo rally. It gave us everything: snow, ice, dry patches, slush, rain,
mud,
a hurricane, as you described it. You know, we have that wonderful situation. We're probably the only rally of the year where we get real tyre choice gambles, real tyre choice wins and loses. We had it all, didn't we?
It was an absolute classic Monte, wasn't it? You know, in years gone by, we've had these dry events, which, in fairness, it's almost like an old-style San Remo. You know, it's just a run through dry roads on the mountains. But this one, you always remember these absolute classics where you get the weather coming in. In fairness, the one thing we didn't have was a lot of snow coming in and changing conditions, the conditions evolving as the loops progressed. We didn't really get that. But, you know, all of the weather's work was done on the recce, really, wasn't it? And, you know, there was perhaps not as much snow as we thought there would be in the first half of the rally, but, you know, Sunday, you know, that one stage, the power stage, was absolutely fabulous, wasn't it?
It really was. But what we did see, David, is we saw some really big swings in terms of the times in the stage. Your tarmac rally, if you make up 2 or 3 or 4 seconds in a stage, you're doing a great job. What we saw this week in Monte Carlo was, again, drivers able to win stages by 10, 15 seconds because of the tyre choice, because of the evolving conditions in the stage. And, do you know, I just think that is part of the absolute... the attraction of the Monte Carlo rally, that you're never out of it. Doesn't matter.
No, absolutely. You can turn things around by a minute. You know, if you get stuff right, we've seen it in the past with drivers like Francois Delacour. But there weren't too many drivers who made that gap. You know, there was one guy, Sébastien Ogier, who did an absolutely brilliant job when he was, you know, he had that puncture, and it was difficult. He was 25 seconds down on Elvin, and he had the ability to turn it around and to take that time out of people.
And the intelligence to know that you could do it, and not to panic, and not to push it, not to force the situation.
No, exactly. And the one thing, you know, we talked a lot about a tyre choice and I don't think anybody made a truly inspired, brilliant Monte Carlo tyre choice. You would have to say Hyundai got it wrong.
Friday morning.
On Friday morning.
Big time.
That running with 3 studded tyres and 3 winters or 3 slicks, I can't remember which. That was the wrong choice.
3 super softs, I think it
3
was.
3 super softs. So, you know, that was an aspect that it could have gone brilliantly, but the conditions just didn't quite play into their hands.
And that's the gamble of the Monte. You know, they took a gamble. They all invest massive amounts of time and effort and money in some circumstances, you know, in meteo crews and forecasting the weather and looking at the conditions. And it is incredible that you can get such diverse tyre choices based on what must be more or less the same information. But again, that's what makes it fascinating. As a fan, it makes it fascinating. Let's talk then about the teams, David, and how the teams got on in particular. We'll talk first about Hyundai, because they had a very difficult weekend. I think Adamo, the team boss, is quoted as saying it is a weekend we cannot be proud of. And I think he's right. I think there's only one bright spot in the whole weekend for Hyundai, and that is Martin Vidiga, the new co-driver for Thierry Neuville. He's the only Hyundai team member who excelled this weekend. And
well, I think that's a little bit harsh on Thierry. You know, he also excelled. You know,
yes, he did. Because I'll give you that. That's unfair. I am apologising, Thierry. You did excel, Thierry. He had to deal with it. Correct.
Absolutely, as much. And you can only begin to imagine when that decision was taken, and with less than a week to go before the start of the recce, that Nicolas Gilsoul wasn't going to be in the car. I mean, that news stopped us in our tracks.
Stopped. I phoned you up. I went, David, have you heard the news?
Yeah.
What news,
But
Colin?
you phoning me up like that is almost a daily occurrence.
Yeah, exactly. When kids
take a lot
say hello to me in the morning, I phone you up and tell you that's great news. Yeah, fair enough.
Quite good at making a
Fair
drama,
enough.
but this time it was a drama, because
It was.
if there is one event that you don't want to start with a new co-driver, it's Monte Carlo. There is so much information, so much resting on the shoulders of the co-driver. And to jump into that car for the first time, he did a brilliant job. So that was undoubtedly a real.
If that's a job interview, if that's you putting forward your case for keeping the job, I think Vidiga's done him. I think Vidiga's done
to keep my job.
he's done a wonderful effort, and I think he's more or less done enough, I think, to keep that seat.
As we've said before, we did quite a long piece with Nicky Grist about exactly what he was doing, the challenge, yeah. And Christie said, if he can make it through Monte in one piece, he's up and running.
Good.
And he
Fantastic
really has
effort.
to be now, doesn't he? But equally, I think, we're talking about Hyundai there. Let's not forget that Tanak led the event after the first two stages. He did.
Well, are you going to try and take a positive out of that?
Well, I mean, I think it's a bit unfair again on Tanak. He didn't really make any mistakes, did he?
Yes, he did.
Okay, the puncture.
Goodness me.
But did you see the puncture?
No, he's admitted it. He's admitted the first puncture was his problem. He's admitted it. He said it was a spin, it was a mistake, there was something he'd missed in his notes. And ultimately, it is the driver's decision to go out with 5, not 6 tyres. It is ultimately the driver's decision.
I was trying to spin it, because don't forget which hat he wears. He's our friend.
He is our friend, but
I know, okay, let's just isolate Thursday, and let's say who made the best out of Thursday.
Right, okay, well, let's move on from Tanak, because I don't think there's an awful lot we can say about Tanak.
But it is a disaster for him.
A disaster. He starts the season again absolutely on the back foot. The pressure is already on Tanak.
And before the event, the one thing that everybody had said, and we said this over the weekend, you want to lay the foundation for a season. We don't know how many rounds we're going to get.
Totally.
You want points early.
You can't win a championship with too many big zeros on your scorecard. He's already got one. You can't afford any more. Danny Sordo, what do we think of Sordo? He got better as the weekend went on. But we all know now, Sordo is a consummate professional who's been around for many years. We know his strengths, we know his weaknesses. He is a driver that struggles in changeable conditions. If it's icy all the way, he gets used to it, he puts in a performance. If it's wet all the way, fine. If it's changing and he can't find a rhythm...
The inconsistency.
But at the end of the day, Sordo finished in...
Fifth
place, scored manufacturer points, did what he had to do.
That's the point, with Danny Sordo, what you are banking points if you bring him along. And like you say, if we'd had a consistent Monte, he'd have been racy. He'd have been right up there challenging. It is difficult to see a driver that that can deliver really struggling. And at times, we saw him really, really struggling, didn't we? Again, he took that.
He's never liked it, has he? He's never liked the Monte. He's never really. But I think he did a good job, and
he did a solid job.
Solid job. And we'll see Craig Breen in that car when we get to the north of Finland for the next event. Let's talk then about Toyota. Let's talk about Toyota, because goodness me, Jari-Matti Latvala thrown into the job. We talked about Martin Vidiga. To be honest with you, I'd rather be thrown into Jari-Matti's job than Martin's job. But he still had a job to do. He still had a team to lead, to direct. He still had to deliver a result. And it's Toyota's first win on the Monte since
1998.
Almost a quarter of a century. Almost a quarter of a century. And it's not just a win, it's 4 cars in the top 6, 2 on the podium. Sebastian Ogier mastering the conditions once again. That Toyota looks really, really good. The team looks really, really strong.
It's very, very hard to see past them right now. It really is. Every aspect of this job, they seem to have an answer for it, don't they? And Latvala comes in, he was a surprise choice, but you've got a guy there that's got 209 WRC rounds.
The most experienced WRC driver in history.
He's seen everything, he's been everywhere. He is somebody that can draw on massive experience and more relevant experience. Tommy was fabulous, a 4-time world champion, but he hadn't driven these cars in competition. Jari-Matti has. He understands what the car needs. They are really looking very, very strong. And even Rovanperä, you know, last year he came to Monte and he finished fourth or fifth, you know, a good result. We have seen him grow tremendously in 12 months, and he led after first stage on Friday morning. He was leading.
I think he was massively impressive again. He really was. His ability to cope with new experiences, with difficult conditions, was enormously impressive.
Elfyn, though, I mean, where do we stand on Elfyn? You know, last year he settled into the car undoubtedly quicker than Sebastian Ogier did, and did a superb job for those first 3 days of the event, and then kind of clammed up a bit on Sunday. This time he never seemed to get into that same rhythm. He never seemed to, by his own admission, he said he didn't look quite as comfortable. He didn't feel quite as comfortable in the car. But the encouraging thing, as we said, he can see where that time is.
The most encouraging thing is that he knows where the time loss is, and he's found a safe pace, which is podium safe. More or less.
Which is going to bring points.
Bring points every time. And when he finds his confidence, which I'm absolutely convinced he will when we go to Finland in a few weeks' time, he was sensational in Sweden last year. Sensational is not too strong a word. He really was. And I think we'll see a similar Elfyn in a couple of weeks' time. Do you know, Ogier though, Ogier for me, we've seen it in the past. You know, remember when he won the championship with M Sport for the first time, 2017? Took him 3 or 4 rallies to get into things, into his real top pace, top performance, the car as he wanted it. But they still weren't able to beat him. He gave them a little bit of a head start, the opposition. You know, last year was kind of the same. You know, in Monte Carlo, okay, he was second. But this year, he's won Monte Carlo, he's taken the power stage points. You know what? If he gets himself ahead in the championship after 3 or 4 rounds, it is going to be so difficult.
It'll be back to him in his pomp in Volkswagen, won't it?
Will.
It'll be the 14-15
Catch me
season.
if you can.
Yeah,
Not
I think
easy.
you know you've got to say that only mechanical failure can rob Ogier, and it's an incredible thing to say after round 1 of 12. But you know he is on top of everything.
It's the package. It is the package. It's Ogier, it's Ingrassia, it's the Toyota, it's Latvala. It is the package that is there, David, that looks already almost unbeatably strong.
Maybe we are getting ahead of ourselves here. It's one event where Ogier has real experience and a great track record, a history-making track record here. I don't know, you know, Croatia, you'd probably have to fancy him there. The new rallies, he's always strong, isn't he?
Strong. Yeah.
But yeah, he's looking very hard.
It's been a great start to the season for Toyota and fantastic.
And let's not forget Takasan as well.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about 1 or 2 other notable performances this weekend. For me, Takasan, he came back beautifully in Monza after 3 2 difficult rallies and a terrible start to Monza where he crashed on that opening stage. Takasan, 6th, his best performance in the WRC. And a really measured performance. Okay, you look at the time and he's miles down. That doesn't matter. He got through a difficult rally and he set himself up nicely for his first full season in the WRC.
Yeah, he did. And he looked, you know, I know there were a couple of spins and everything, but he looked quite comfortable. He was really taking everything in. He was understanding everything. He was making changes to the car, going in the right way. And then, you know, what I was quite encouraged, the first run through the Briançonnet stage. Was it there that he had the spin?
Can't remember, David.
I think
it was a long time ago.
But it's the first time ever you've seen, real frustration, and he sort of threw the hat or something, and it was great to see.
Because he expects more of himself now. He expects more of himself. Great stuff. Another notable performance, I suppose, that we really have to mention is Andreas Mikkelsen in the Rally 2 car.
Yep.
Put a lot of pressure on himself at the start of this event. A strong he did.
He did.
Strong R5 field, and he
said, "You were very surprised I agreed with you there."
Well, I thought you were about to disagree with me. You know, strong R5 field. He said it's not good enough for me to win this event. I have to dominate it, and it was domination from Mikkelsen. He was faultless. He was faultless.
There was an early time from Formo on Friday morning where he took some time out of him. Mikkelsen, water off a duck's back. You know, he got enough pace to deal with it. And the car, you know, that TalkSport Skoda looked super racy. It looked great.
They're a great team. You've got to say they're a super professional team. They've given them a fantastic car.
Oh, they have. Absolutely. And an incredible programme for this year. But no, like you say, there was massive pressure that he put on himself. And at no point did he, he had a bit of a spin, but at no point did he really look troubled.
He didn't.
And you know, not just that, you know, we do need to come on to M Sport in a minute, but, you know, he absolutely whipped Gus Greensmith, didn't he? You know, people, real kind of good drivers in Rally 1 cars. He took them apart, and it was that was
David, thank you very much for reminding me about M Sport, and that is a sad reflection on the M Sport performance this weekend. I was just forgetting to talk about them. And it is a forgettable weekend for M Sport, and such a pity because they went to such enormous efforts. It was very difficult for anyone from the UK to get out to Rally Monte Carlo, and they really did absolutely go above and beyond to get there. But you know what? The rally was destroyed in the opening stage with Teemu Sunninen. Sunninen was their only chance of a top 5 or 6 finish, and it was destroyed. And on top of that, Greensmith, he's still a young man. He's still a man looking for experience. He looked absolutely lost at times.
He looked out of his depth at times.
At times.
He went on, it was the first day, he just couldn't pick himself up. He just kept getting lower and lower. That said, there were times when it looked better and the times were coming and improving. But it's a very, very big ask to come here and drive these cars and expect to be right at the sharp end.
The high point for M Sport for me was Formeau's performance in the Rally 2 car was superb. They will go to the next round with high hopes for, in particular, Teemu Sunninen. But I'd have to say, you know, the pressure mounts on Sunninen to put in a performance.
And historically, he's not a driver that's shown himself able to deal with pressure. You remember that when he went off in Sweden last year on the shakedown? He was finished for the rest of the rally. So he needs to go home and he needs to forget everything that's happened and he needs to get on top of it. And, you know, they don't have many opportunities with M Sport to really deliver a potential rally winning performance. And they also, you know, they can't have too many more crashes because they don't have that many more chassis. No, it's a big worry for M Sport. David, you said it's time for Sunninen to go home. I think it's time for us almost to go home and say goodbye to this wonderful setting. Do you want to say thank you to our host this weekend? Thank you to Ian Gwynn,
BGM Sport.
And I think we have to say a big thank you to Steve Rimmer as well from DirtFish for owning some of these amazing cars and allowing us to walk around and have a look at them. But that could be it until Rovaniemi.
Until the Arctic Circle. I've been out and bought my snow boots already.
Have you?
In anticipation of going. We'll keep our fingers crossed. They are furry. We'll keep our fingers crossed that we get to Rovaniemi. We may well be seeing you again here for the Arctic Rally, but we might well be.
We'll change the backdrop if we come back.
We'll get some new cars. We've got plenty of choice, haven't we?
Yeah,
we've got plenty of choice. And one final big thank you to our producer, cameraman, sound recordist, editor. He's been everything this weekend.
Purchaser of coffees.
Gary. Gary has been wonderful. It's been a team effort, and to all our team back in the USFA. And to Heikki out in Monte Carlo. Guys, and obviously a massive thank you to all of you for joining us on what has been something a little different from DirtFish this week at the Monte Carlo Rally.
As well. We did have a huge number of questions in, and we
are going to answer them, by the way. All of those who have sent questions, and we will answer. We will answer, and some wonderful comments about the content and what we're trying to do here at DirtFish.
Colin's going to go away and do his homework to answer some of those questions.
I am going to answer them. But yeah, we've really enjoyed your company this weekend. We've appreciated your comments and your feedback. It has been really, really uplifting. Folks, thank you very, very much indeed for joining us for this wonderful opening round of the WRC season. We'll see you all in Rovaniemi. Maybe, David.
Hopefully.
See you then.